This is the second honest look I'm doing on the quintessential quintuplets. As such, I'll be talking about Nino Nakano, the second sister of the titular quintuplets, and I'll be discussing spoilers up through the end of the Sister War arc. Nino is the one with the most drastic change from the beginning of the show to now, and most of that change was in like 2 chapters during the Seven Goodbyes arc. She's also pretty simple at first, but as Futaro, and by extension the audience, learns more about her, we find she's actually quite the opposite. See, Nino was absolutely worst girl. She was spiteful, rude, and arrogant to Futaro. It doesn't take long to find out she actually loves her sisters very much and sees Futaro as an outsider, and until the Seven Goodbyes arc, she was terrified to change. This is reflected in a bit of symbolism during the anime's ED. There's a series of 3 shots involving makeup vials. The first shows 5 identical pink makeup kits symbolizing the Quince's children when they were truly identical. The second sees 4 of them change, with the second one being the same small pink vial. And the third represents the Seven Goodbyes arc when she realizes change is good. This is also why Nino had a cute childish phone, and has her hair pretty similar to what it was like when they were kids. She becomes disheartened by her sisters changing and growing into their own person, and is worried they're going to leave her. This is one reason she didn't trust Futaro at all. She was all for the idea of them failing together and repeating the grade together like they had at their previous school when Yotsuba failed. And her fear of change is why she stresses about the fireworks so much. Watching them with her sisters is a family tradition, and it nearly gets ruined when they all get separated and Ichika ditches out on them. This is when Futaro finally breaks through to her and a little bit and proves that he's at the very least a decent enough guy, even if he is still an outsider that should stay away. And it's this small level of trust that convinces her to stand up for him when their father threatens to fire him for their failures. She still doesn't join in on the study sessions and is still worried about Futaro instigating change in her perfect little home, but she loves and respects her sisters enough not to get in their way if they want to study with him. All that comes to a head in Seven Goodbyes, but first we have to talk about the small but important role she played in the Bonfire arc. She got grouped with Itsuki, which might seem like an innocuous detail, but we'll come back to that. When her and Itsuki get separated, she actually runs into Futaro wearing a blonde wig and mistakes him for the boy that was in the photo Futaro keeps in his handbook. She's actually right, but when she saw the handbook, Futaro lied and said it was his cousin. Thus, Kentaro was born. Turns out the blonde delinquent version of Futaro is exactly Nino's type, and she asks him to go to the dance with her. He accepts, not wanting to spoil her mood. After all, he's putting on this act in order to get her to open up about him in a way she never would if she knew she was really talking to him. He is, however, able to break it off as Futaro, making up some excuse for why he, as Kentaro, can't dance with her. And now for Seven Goodbyes. Did you get all the groundwork that the first season laid out? Alright. Futaro earned her trust through all this, and so she gave him a chance. One chance. And he showed up late. He had good reason to, and this just shows she was looking for an excuse to hate him again. Miku defends him, which Nino suspected would happen, so she stands firm. And then Itsuki, the only other one who outright hated Futaro at first, the one that Nino paired off with during the school trip, the one she thought for sure would take her side and chastise Futaro's tardiness, slap some discipline in her. This is when Nino's little fairy tale world comes crashing down. She thought she would stay in that house, just her and her sisters, forever. But they all changed. They all grew apart, and it's too much for her, so she runs away and stays at a hotel room. Futaro tries making it better, even opens up to her about the elusive Rena, and she even apologizes to him and does the work she'd see made for her. But that doesn't change the fact she's too stubborn and proud and scared to go home, not before Itsuki. It's at this time she asks Futaro to set up a meeting between her and Kentaro. He obliges and she ends up busting the truth out of him, once again using this as an excuse to not trust him. It's not until Miku visits and discusses tea that they're able to make some serious headway. The metaphor is pretty obvious. Different teas taste different, but the leaves are the same. All that's different is how they are treated. It's the same for the quintuplets. They were all the same, but through their own experiences and efforts, they've become different, and no matter how she tries running from that truth, Nino has changed as well, and to symbolize that change, Miku helps her cut her hair. She impersonates Yotsuba to get her out of the jam she made for herself, apologizes to Futaro and Itsuki, and goes back home for just a few days before Futaro quit. They didn't want him to, so they moved out of their father's house, got their own place, and convinced Futaro to be their tutor again. And this rapid change did something else for Nino. She fell in love with Futaro. Or at least what she thinks is love, and she confesses right away. After that, she basically becomes a train with no brakes, bullying her romantic rivals and pushing Futaro to spend more time with her. She gets a small part in Scrambled Eggs, mostly learning the hard way that Ichika is also in love with Futaro and is willing to play a lot more dirty. And I love this interplay because Nino's boldness and honesty is a hard counter to the other girls' more roundabout methods. Her pushiness forces them to act, play their hands, and make mistakes, all while being mature and honest enough to know she really does not want an answer from Futaro right now. She drugged his ass once. That's a lot of bad blood to undo. She tried settling things during the Kyoto trip, helping instigate the sister war, and through seeing Miku cry and Ichika throw her words right back in her face, she learned something. She's been inconsiderate of everyone else's feelings. She's inconsiderate of Futaro's feelings, she's inconsiderate of Miku's feelings, and she never considered Ichika or anyone else's either, which is what led to her trying to support Miku but getting in her way at one point. I really don't know what the future holds for Nino. There's been a couple hints at her being the bride, but like all the other hints involving the bride, there's a good chance they're all red herrings. Nino was my least favorite of the 5 for a long time, but I find her so refreshing, especially when compared to Itsuki and Miku. She's a tsundere who turned into the opposite and did over the course of an arc, but Neji is a good enough writer to where it all makes sense with what happened before that arc and how her relationship with her sisters worked. And if you want to help me work more efficiently, like, comment, and subscribe, and support my Patreon, a donation of $10 or more grants you one video topic request. And hit the bell so you can see the next Honest Look when it drops. I'm Mediocrity4, thanks for watching.